Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Glad to see that you're here. We've already got Patricia Santasario saying hello. Hello, Patricia.
Hello, Patricia.
And also, Barbara Duffy Hennison says she's watching at work. So James Ricard says, hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the ships at sea. Hi,
Wow.
James.
That's a lot.
Paul Hollis says, hi, Rob, Joan, and friends. Yeah, you'll get to meet our friends in just a minute here. And Trish Pipkin says, hello. Gosh, everybody, thanks for starting to comment so early in the broadcast. We appreciate it. Remember to like, follow, share, and comment. You can like and share and follow us on our podcast page on, Meet the Author podcast on our Facebook page. That'd be great.
As you all know, we like to stimulate conversations that help people, not just sell books. So, and that's our dog in the background. So she's exceptionally noisy tonight. We want you guys to hear the story behind their stories, the author's stories. And both of our guests tonight have really good stories to tell. So first of all, we'll tell you about our second guest tonight is a Pulitzer Prize nominee in journalism and a former USA Today journalist, Leonard Jones. He's the author of 3 novels, 2 fiction and 1 nonfiction. And so stay tuned, get a chance to, there'll be book giveaways, both half hours. Now we'd like to welcome author Rick Bentsen.
And also I want to say hi to Caleb Pirtle. I'm glad to see you again, Caleb. Long time no see. Glad you're here.
Hi, Caleb. And we're going to bring up Rick. Hi, Rick. How are you doing?
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm here.
You're there. That's good.
That is good.
That's good, because otherwise it would be a blank screen.
This is true.
So, Rick, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you started writing or why you started writing? What prompted you to write?
Well, I am one of those people who's always been creative. I grew up with an overactive imagination and always looking for outlets to let it out, so to speak. I did acting in high school. I wrote poetry, and I had an English teacher in high school, Mrs. Smith, who encouraged me and told me I had a lot of talent. I didn't believe her. When somebody tells you you have talent, you don't always believe them. Authors out there,
Yes,
I'm sure y'all back me up on that.
Actually, one
That's for
author
sure.
just said hi, Rick. Paul Hollis. He writes the
Hi, Paul.
Halloween series.
So, I just kept going, and in 2001, I released my first book, and it didn't do very well. Part of it was, I'm sure part of it had to do with the release date, which was actually, no joke, 9/11/2001.
Oh.
And I had a major terrorist attack in the book, so I mean,
Oh, no.
really couldn't be a worse combination.
I'm sorry,
Oh, my goodness.
But what are the odds? I mean, that's oh my gosh.
So
So maybe people weren't wanting to read about a
Yeah,
terrorist attack on
just wasn't
9/11,
quite
2001.
wasn't quite ready for that.
Oh gosh.
So I didn't release anything for another 13 years.
No kidding, right?
You were afraid of what would happen, right?
Pretty much. And then between 2001 and 2014, when my next book came out, I jumped genres.
Yeah.
I jumped from science fiction to fantasy. I had these two characters who came to me in a dream and said, "You're going to tell our story." And I went, "Okay."
Did you really?
Oh, that's cool.
So many people say that. I mean, I've never had a story come to me in a dream or anything.
And
I'm open.
and it's fun when it happens like that. And so I told their story, and people have read it, and they've been very receptive to it. And I have since released 3 more books in that series. And
would it be this series?
That would be the series right there, yeah.
The Blade Master.
Blade Master Chronicles.
And
Go lay down.
people haven't really told me how much they've enjoyed that book, and I'm starting to believe that maybe Mrs. Smith was right. Maybe I do have a little bit of talent.
There you go. Well, I'd hang on to that.
Yeah, I think that's great. So
that's how I ended up where I am.
I want to tell people where they can reach you. You can reach Rick at Facebook, Rick Bentsen author. Yes, right there. RickBentsenauthor. That's where you can reach him on Facebook. And if you want to follow him on Twitter, and I suggest that you do, you can reach him at Rick Bentsen at RickBentsen.
I will say I'm more active on Facebook than Twitter. I am starting to get a little more active on Instagram as well. It's the same username.
Okay, that's good.
Good to know. Good to know.
We didn't have that up here, but we do.
I've only just started using it, so
Okay.
Okay.
Still don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, Instagram throws me a little bit too. And Rick's email is rickbenson@gmail.com. That's an easy one. Let's see. We have Trish Pipkins has a comment. My sister had friends in a band who had an album released a month before 9/11. And the cover was at the Twin Towers with a plane flying between them. They are questioned by the FBI. So you're not alone in bad timing. Actually, we know that band. Yeah. Squad 5000. And very nice twin boys. And the FBI came
unfortunate
and questioned
timing.
them in their home in Savannah, Georgia. They had, the cover was planes flying into the Twin Towers. And it's like, and the name of the album, we should say, is Bombs Over Broadway.
Bad timing is bad timing. Yeah, I mean,
bad timing.
Well, at least the FBI didn't question you; they did the boys. So
we're
now men in their 40s, but
it wasn't a plane flying into the Twin Towers in my book. It was a planet blowing up. So it was a little different.
Yeah, yeah, quite a bit different actually, right?
You've got another book you wanted to talk about.
I do.
Chocolate Sheriff, right?
Yeah. The Chocolate Sheriff is a book that came out a few years ago, and I have a sequel coming out later this year.
Yay!
I didn't really plan on a sequel. However, I left the room open for one. The Chocolate Sheriff is a story about a failed author who takes a job at a camp for underprivileged kids.
Oh.
And the camp is an Old West style camp, and he takes the job as the sheriff at the camp. And he's known as the chocolate sheriff because he's notorious for walking around with chocolate bars in his pockets and sneaking them to the campers as he goes around the camp. It's a fun little story.
Sure.
And a fun little note about this book. The former property manager at the apartment I'm living in loved this book for one specific reason. There's a little scene in the book where I took a dig at a former neighbor of mine who my landlord hated and I hated because she would drive us all crazy. This woman, unfortunately, she's no longer with us.
Oh dear.
Was how can I put this? Needy. She needed much more help than a normal neighbor. And she had cats that she would accidentally get out of her apartment, and she would stand at the top of the stairs and whine for them. And I know you have dogs. I don't know if you know much about having cats, but
Yep.
Calling for cats works about as good as trying to bail out water with a sieve.
Yeah, there you go. They don't cooperate real well.
So, I took a little dig at her, and the former property manager loved it, and she actually bought a copy just for that little dig.
So,
cool.
Note to everybody that knows Rick, don't tick him off. You'll be in one of his books.
Yeah.
And actually, and it's true because we're gonna be talking about my upcoming book, Blood Rights, in a few minutes. But the sequel to Blood Rights, I'm actually killing off another neighbor.
Oh no! Uh-oh.
Oh dear.
Yeah. They say don't piss off a neighbor or don't piss off an author because we will kill you off in our books. It's true.
Just you don't have to worry, folks in the audience, unless you live in Massachusetts. Then you might want to talk to Rick privately.
He's only killing her off in the book, though, not in real
well,
life.
that's true.
Oh, true.
You are, right?
I would only kill people off in my books. I'm not a violent person normally.
Rick,
well, when you write about it, that gets it all out.
Rick,
Trish Pipkins says, I guess my cat loves me. She does come when I call her. Haha, surprises me every time. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to ask you, what genre would you consider The Chocolate Sheriff?
I would label it a Western.
A Western, okay.
I mean, it is cowboy-y. There's Indians. Sorry, Native Americans. Sorry, use the right terminology.
Indigenous people.
There we go.
We've graduated to Indigenous people.
I can't keep up, folks. I'm sorry.
There you go. So, Blood Rights.
Yeah,
Blood Rights. Yes,
Blood Rights.
Blood Rights. I'm really excited about Blood Rights.
When does it come out?
September, maybe.
We're hoping late August, early September.
Okay.
The answer to that question is, how long is it going to take my editor to work her magic once I finish my editing pass?
I think all the authors that are listening to this can understand that.
Yes.
For sure.
My editor is amazing. She will absolutely any authors who are listening who need a great editor, send me an email. I'll give you a good reference. She will do. She's done an awesome job with all of my other books. She's going to work her magic with this one. But so we're looking at late August, early September. Blood Rights is very different from anything I've ever written. It is the first time I've ever written in first person, so that's going to be different. Are you guys familiar with the Dresden Files?
The Dresden Fox?
Dresden Files by Jim Butcher.
Dresden Files. No, I don't think I've read it.
Okay. The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. He's a professional wizard in the city of Chicago.
Oh.
Who he works as a private detective. Blood Rights is a similar type of story. The main character is a private detective in the city of Boston. He is a bard. He uses music to create magic. Anybody who's listened to a song and had it bring them back to another time or another place knows that music can actually create magic.
Right.
And he uses his music to help him in his cases. And Blood Rights is the case of a young lady who goes missing from Boston College. And he is hired to find her. And he needs to find her before she is sacrificed in a blood right. That's the title, Blood Rights.
There you go.
And it's an interesting, because it's the first time I've written a mystery. It's the first time I've written in first person. And there are a lot of Celtic influences, obviously bards.
Boston.
And Boston. Go Red Sox. And it's a really interesting take on that whole style of story.
Let's get your. You can talk some more about it here in just a second, but let's get your book giveaway going. And this is pretty cool. Actually, this is the first time we've had a hardbound copy. Hardbound copy. This is the first person to email rickbentsen@gmail.com will win an autographed hardbound copy of Blood Rights.
Okay.
And
that's U.S. only, right?
In U.S. only.
U.S. only. And I have a surprise. I didn't tell you guys I was going to do this.
Okay.
We like surprises. It's okay.
I set up a coupon code for my store. Anybody who emails me during the program will get the coupon code for 15% off.
All right.
Anything at my store.
That's
perfect.
It's 15% off your entire order. It's not just one item.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's great.
So
that's a good surprise. Yeah, that's a good surprise. That's the kind we want.
And the address to your store, I don't think we have that, do we? We've got Facebook, Twitter, and email.
It's mkt.com. Oh, let me go to the store and make sure I got it right.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you want that hardbound autographed copy of Blood Rights, you live here in the United States, email Rick at rickbentsen, BENTSEN @gmail.com.
All right. That store address is mkt.com/Rick Bentsen.
Oh, okay. That's easy enough, right? Okay.
And you'll get 15% off your whole order. Now, go ahead.
Anybody who emails me, I will email you guys the code.
Now, Trish Pickens has a question. She said, since you've now written a book in the first person, do you like it better or do you prefer third person?
I do prefer third person. However, when I continue writing this series, I will continue in third person, in first person, because it fits the series.
Okay.
I do like third person better.
Mm-hmm. And the first person is, the bard, I assume, right?
Yes.
From Boston.
Finnegan O'Connell.
Great name.
That's Russian, right?
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
The funny thing is, when I was searching for his name, I actually, it's funny where we come up with our names for our characters.
Yes, it is.
I came up with Finn for short. Don't judge. I watch WWE. And
we're not going to judge. We had front row seats to see Yokozuna one time, so trust me.
One of the wrestlers I like right now is named Finn Balor, and Finn just kind of fit character. So there you go.
That's good. All right, we're writing up a banner for your 15% discount coupon right now, so that'll be up in a minute. So I assume you're going to have a lot of Boston type scenery in there.
There's Boston scenery. I've mentioned the Freedom Trail, Faneuil Hall Marketplace.
Nice.
The detective Finn works with, her husband is a scout for the Red Sox. Hey, I'm a Boston boy. I gotta talk about my Red Sox somehow in the book.
Yeah. I went to Boston University, but I'm from Boston too, so.
And
not college. I went to Boston. Oh, boo, BU.
And this has been one of those cases, one of those books where really hope the FBI doesn't look at my browser history.
Right.
I swear I'm not trying to kidnap a student from Boston College, folks.
There you go. I think a lot of us have had that moment, when we're writing books.
Let's see. Map of Boston College, chloroform. No, I'm not trying to kidnap a student.
When we lived in a suburb of DC, I worked at Home Depot, and I would get a lot of customers that worked for the government, all different kinds of Leos, FBI agents, all that kind of stuff. And one day this man came in, and just when you said that about the FBI, and honestly, I'm not going to try and kidnap some college student, this guy came in and he wanted me to find him those great big long strips what are the zip strips?
Zip ties.
Yeah, zip ties, the big long zip ties. He wanted so many of those. He wanted some black trash bags.
A wheelbarrow and a shovel, right?
No.
Okay.
No, but I said to him, if you want a wheelbarrow and a shovel, I just want you to know I'm calling the authorities before you leave the store. But he was an FBI agent who was teaching a class on FBI agents, how if they've been compromised and zip tied and put in a bag and stuff like that, how to get out. So I said, okay, that's your story and you're sticking to it. He was really an FBI agent. But yeah, I think all authors worry about that. I seriously worry about that. I do the research for our murder mysteries, and I'm always thinking, oh Lord, this is going to look terrible. Yeah. Because you try so many different things, when you're trying to figure out how to kill the next person, all different kinds of unique poisons and how they could be untraceable and what it would look like when they did the autopsy. And it's like,
well, I've started doing the research for the sequel, and one of the things I had to look up is how much blood can a person lose before they die? I'm thinking to myself, God, if the FBI sees me ask that kind of question.
4 to 5 quarts, right?
I don't remember what the answer was, but the victim's going to end up with no blood, so it's going to be, they got no chance.
My advice would be don't stop writing and don't throw away all your notes and your manuscripts. Don't throw them all away, because you're going to need to produce that to prove, your intent or lack thereof.
He was writing a book.
Right.
Not on killing somebody.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so those are the weird kind of searches that we do. Okay.
Swear, officer, I'm not trying to kill somebody.
George made it. Hey, George.
Hello, George.
He was having trouble getting in before.
George Dismuke says, ask an IRS man that one.
There you go.
Yeah. Our search engines are very odd, aren't they, George?
So, Rick, how many books are in your Blade Master series?
So far, there are 4.
4? Okay.
The 5th one should come out soon.
That's the next one. Okay. Do you know the name on that yet?
Revenge of the Seraphim.
Nice.
Revenge of the Seraphim. Cool.
Yep. And there are a total of 14 planned.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
That's great.
I actually have plot lines planned out for all 14. I just have to.
Do you really? Wow, you're more disciplined than I am. For sure.
Well, we have quite a few books
we do have planned out, but
that are not
They just haven't
published yet.
published yet.
Yeah.
But
Because it's all that rewriting and editing.
Like I said, I'm in editing hell currently.
hi,
Joe
Joe.
Congo just said, hi, everyone. Just got home. Long day. Sorry, Joe. You missed some very funny conversation. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh, but we should tell you about how to win the book and get a,
Yeah, it's still up there.
well, the 15% discount coupon at mkt.com/Rick Bentsen.
Yeah, that's for anything in your store.
His store, in Rick's store. And also, if you email him, you can win an autographed hardbound copy of Blood Rights if you live in the United States. And I say that because Robert just came on and he lives in Australia.
Yeah, so
That's a book giveaway. The first person to email Rick Bentsen, RickBentsen @gmail.com will win an autographed hardbound copy of Blood Rights.
And anyone who emails me will get that coupon code.
And
Awesome.
anyone, that's good.
that's awesome.
And Robert White says, morning all. And good morning to
Morning,
you, Robert.
Robert.
He's in Australia, so it is morning there. I don't know where everybody is that's watching and listening, but right now it's the evening here where we are in Tampa, Florida.
That's right.
Okay, so back to Blood Rights. You have the second one planned already.
Yep.
You're in editing hell on the first one. His name is Finnegan O'Connell
Mhm.
from
Very
Boston.
Wow.
Hey, I'm Irish from Boston.
You got the Irish names down. That's
I've got-
I've got a touch of the wee folk in me myself, you know.
Oh, here's a question for you.
Here's one. Would you write and use Salem for your Bard character? I think it would be so cool in modern day Salem. I love Salem.
The How can I answer this without giving anything away?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Maybe
You could just say
maybe
you
don't
can't.
answer it.
Read
Just
the
say,
book.
read the book and find out.
Read the
Salem
book.
is so cool, right? So you don't
Salem-
live too far from Salem.
Salem is such a rich, magical history.
Isn't it?
That
I love
it's a nexus of magical energy. So of course it's going to be involved somehow.
Salem is awesome. I love it. Stay
So-
tuned, Trish says.
That's
That's
all
right.
I can say is read the book.
Yep.
Yeah, because see, I was born and raised near Salem. And I know you're not far from there also.
Bit south, about maybe 45 minutes south.
Yeah, that's close. It's seriously close. It's so fun to go there, though, isn't it? And it's beautiful.
All of New England is beautiful.
It is.
Especially in the fall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, especially in the fall. It really is.
So, well, we are coming up on commercial time and break time
Well,
here.
that went fast.
Gotta take a little break here for 3 to 5 minutes. When we come back, Del Leonard Jones will be our next guest. And we're going to bring him on right after this break. So everybody stay tuned. And we'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com.
At Indie Booksource, you can shop by genre or by author, and you will be buying direct from the author's main purchase link. We offer hundreds of titles in formats that include ebooks, paperback, hardbound, and audiobook. Support an indie author. Visit indiebooksource.com today.
In a world where advancing technology is outpacing crime solving, the O'Rourke team continues their relentless pursuit of justice. Bioprints is the first book in the O'Rourke crime novel series where it's high-tech crime versus old-fashioned detective work. Visit carternovels.com or amazon.com and check out Bioprints today.
WLFE Digital Broadcast Network presents Variety Unlimited Television. Watch shows like Meet the Author Podcast, The Bipolar DM, Just Cindy, Card Pulls and Coffee, Unfiltered Talk with Bryce, and more. That's right, our shows are your shows on WLFE Digital Broadcast Network. And now, back to the show. Hi, Del.
There you are.
Am I there?
Yeah,
Yes.
there you are.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
That's good.
I've been enjoying the conversation.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got another comment
What do we
here.
got?
Oh, it was George thanking us. I want to thank you for that great looking Siren Song ad with a blue hole in the background, right? George wrote a book called Siren Song, and it's going to be a movie. So we're really excited about that.
Yep, it's in production right now.
Yep.
Even as we speak.
We have T-shirts about it, but
Yeah.
we just put out a post for that the other day. It was a cool looking post. We've got some other ones too coming up. Paul Hollis says, hi,
Hi,
Del.
Paul. How are you?
Like I said, Paul writes the Hollow Man series.
See how
Do you
fast
know
Paul
him?
can type. No, I don't. I'll have to look him up.
You should look him up.
Yes.
He's great. He's a real support to fellow authors. Caleb Pirtle was on here earlier. You know what? All of these guys that have been on here that are authors are really great and supportive.
Yep.
And good to know. Yeah, do look them up.
So, Del,
Okay.
you've had quite a career.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exciting.
yeah. Just keep continuing. But you kind of outed me in the last segment because my career is really as a trained killer. But I pretend to be a journalist and an author so that I can Google all these outrageous things without the FBI catching on to me.
Right?
Sorry
right?
about that.
Yes, it's-
Well,
Caleb just said, great to meet another newspaper man who has come over to the dark side.
Well,
Yes, that's what Caleb
or
did.
vice versa. Yeah. I think authors that go to journalism are going to the dark side. Yeah.
and Del, by the way, it was Rick that outed you, not us.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, sure. Blame me.
Okay, we'll take part of the responsibility.
No, I was oh, go ahead, Joan. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just going to bring up some of your stuff here while we're talking. Here's that book, At the Bat, the strikeout that shamed America, the cremation of Sam McGee. Do you know in Boston that was about like everybody had to learn that poem?
It's amazing if you're a certain age. My father had it memorized, which is one of the reasons I wrote the book. And
that would be me.
And I now have a Google alert set up for the cremation of Sam McGee, and I get regular emails that's been published, and I look at it, and it's almost always in an obituary that somebody had memorized the poem. And it was so important that when they write 4 paragraphs about the person when they die, that actually makes the cut.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. And who narrated that on your audio?
I narrated both my books on the
You
audio.
did.
Awesome.
Okay, that is awesome.
That's
That is
great.
so cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed doing it a lot. I recommend it. All authors do it. It's a blast. The software isn't too hard to learn.
Right.
And once you learn it, it's just fun. And when you narrate your own books, you can kind of like take your time and make them perfect, almost like you're writing. Like you rewrite everything. You can kind of like re-record everything too if you're patient enough.
There you go.
And you don't have to pay somebody else to do it.
That's
Yeah.
the best part.
We
Well,
haven't
I'm
done
screwed.
our
I'm
own
not
there.
patient.
I want to try that though. I think that is good because you can put in the inflections where you want the inflections to
Right.
be, and
Yeah.
you know where they want to be because that's the way you wrote them in your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's also a good way to find typos in your book because all of a sudden you like see typos that you didn't see the other 5,000 times you read through it. But when you're narrating it, oh wow, I got that one wrong.
Yep. In
Yeah.
bioprints, we wrote dose instead of dose. So that we found that out the hard way.
So At the Bat is like really a popular book. It was like #1 on Goodreads or something like that.
It's voted the number 8 best baseball novel of all time.
Wow.
Which,
I was impressed when I read it. I know that's why I thought it was like #1.
I was kind of honored because
Totally.
the other ones are like movies. Baseball novels often get made into movies like The Natural and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So people are familiar with those books. And in fact, The Natural is the #1 baseball novel of all time. But mine has climbed up to number 8, and it's based just like The Cremation of Sam McGee is based on a poem. At the Bat is based on the Casey at the Bat poem.
Right.
I don't know. I imagine anybody that is my
Pretty well
age or
known.
people will usually know it. Although it's kind of amazing how younger people. I think I've heard that, but yeah.
Right.
So there's a question for you, Del. Do you ever get people thinking you're John Malkovich? You have a great voice.
Well, thank you. I guess maybe I should narrate my books. I know you two both have great voices. In fact, I heard the commercial that you were narrating, and that was like a very professionally done as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. They're fun to make.
Joe Congo says, I am a big baseball fan. I need to read this book.
Great. It's actually narrated. We were talking earlier about first person, and it's actually narrated in first person, at least part of the book, by the umpire who struck out Casey. And I'm actually an amateur sports official myself, so I put myself in the shoes of the umpire who struck out Casey because I think I would have a feel for kind of like the pressure that the umpire was under. And the book actually changes narrators. There's like 3 main characters, and like a lot of books these days, it switches narration and it goes back and forth in time because half the book is like actually at the baseball game. But I decided I couldn't run that all together and keep it interesting. So I kind of like intersperse these baseball scenes throughout the book.
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody will tell me if it works or not.
James Ricard says, who knows what will come? And that's true.
That's true.
I do want to put up all of your
we got to get
banners, though.
Get his ticker going there, too.
Yeah. Okay.
Up at the top.
I know where it is.
There we go.
It is. There you go.
Nope, that's author Rick Bentsen. Let's switch over to...
Sorry, that's not you anymore, is it?
Sorry. If you go up to Rick Bentsen.
I thought I was up to the top there.
No, way top. Very, very top. Up here. Doop. Doop. There you are.
There's only one top.
If you go to Rick's website, you can get my book at a 30% premium. It costs you 30% more.
Yeah, because Rick has to buy it, and
oh God,
you both have to make money. So
I wish I could say it was my first night, but it isn't. I don't know what I'm doing. Caleb says, "Great to meet another." Oh, you already. That's so crazy. That came up twice. I don't know why it did. George Dismuke says, I'm old enough to remember the narrated cartoon Casey at the Bat. Me too, George.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a famous cartoon. And there's actually, I mean, it's so ubiquitous. It was a Twilight Zone episode. There's a Twilight Zone episode of Casey at the Bat. There's a Mad magazine. I mean, and there's several other things that aren't coming to my mind, but yeah, it's out there. That was actually, I think, a Disney cartoon.
Didn't they make a Bugs Bunny cartoon out of it too?
Well, here,
Yeah,
James Ricard just said, I like the Bugs Bunny baseball cartoon. And Trish Pipkin said, I think Disney Channel has played that cartoon of Casey at the Bat, or Nickelodeon, but it was
Nickelodeon.
Disney.
It was Disney.
See, I told you, our audience is very educated
And helpful.
and they read a lot.
Or they're very old.
Yeah. And you can actually get the poem was actually made famous. It was written by a guy who just signed at Finn. And it was made famous by an actor named DeWolf Hopper. And this was in 1888. And he lived long enough and narrated that poem long enough that you can actually get the recording. I think you can get it on YouTube, the recording of DeWolf Hopper narrating Casey at the Bat.
Wow.
He does it like really old fashioned, and Casey came around. and you can find everybody else in the world has narrated Casey at the Bat on YouTube too. You can get as many versions as you want to listen to.
James says he's just old. That's
yeah, not as old as I am.
Not as old as I am.
Am I the youngest person in this conversation?
You could be.
You might be.
I think that's a very, very good
Possibility.
chance.
Why don't we?
I want to show you where you can reach Dell, though. And LinkedIn, you can reach him at Del-Leonard-Jones-8546B486. And that's DEL, and then LEONARD, and Jones is JONES.
And the number is his prison number. He's a convict. No, he's not. I'm just kidding.
And his website is caseystrikes.wixsite.com/website. CASEYSTRIKESOUT.WIXSITE.com/website. You know how to spell website.
Yeah, and it doesn't work without that website on the end, I found out.
So put it in there.
Make sure that gets on there.
And if you want to email him, which I assume you will if you want to win any of his books, email caseystrikesout@gmail.com. And here's the book giveaway. You want to tell about that?
Yeah. We're going to show the other book too, but if you'll first, what do we have? First 3 people to email caseystrikesout@gmail.com will win a copy of choice, either an ebook, a choice of book, and it's either going to be you can either get an ebook, an audio book, or print if you're in US only.
Robert,
for
that
the
leaves
print.
you out. I'm sorry, but you can get an ebook or you can get an audio book, but not the print book. So first 3 people to email caseystrikesout@gmail.com will win a book of their choice, an ebook, an audio book, or a print book. The print is in the US only. So, all right, we've got some comments here now too.
And if they'd like the cremation of Sam McGee, to specify if you want the cremation of Sam McGee or At the Bat, they can specify which book. The cremation of Sam McGee is also written in first person by the person who cremated Sam McGee.
Wow.
Yeah.
So James says he's so old he watched Bugs Bunny in prime time. And George says, scoot over, James. I just turned 79. That's right. July 21st was
happy
George's
birthday, George.
Happy birthday, George. 79. I'm almost there. I'm right on your heels. And Trish says, I feel like I'm 10 years old. That's my humor anyway. 10-year-old humor. Or your humor is saying you feel 10 years old. Yeah, okay. Oh, hi, Chanel.
Hey, Chanel.
How are you? Glad to see you.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, glad you
The
made
craziness.
it in. Okay, so let's show some of your books here. We've got At the Bat. Now, these are the
Let's
books.
take that email down first.
All right.
Or inbox.
Wait a minute.
Just the top one right there. The blue one. There. There we go. Now I can see it better.
All right.
The
At the Bat.
strikeout that shamed America, At the Bat.
All right.
Or The Cremation of Sam McGee.
And then he also has this book, Advice from the Top.
1001 Bits of Business Wisdom from the Great Leaders of the Recent Past.
Yes.
Why did you have one extra one?
That was actually my first book. When I retired as a journalist, I the story of me getting at USA Today and getting a Pulitzer nomination kind of starts off in small newspapers like the San Angelo Standard Times, the Santa Fe New Mexican, the El Paso Times,
San Leon News.
Yeah, and I found out that the fastest way to just like in baseball, the fastest way to the major leagues is to be a catcher. The fastest way to a major newspaper, which I wanted to go work for, was as a business writer. And so, I had an interest in it. So it wasn't like I was a sports writer at the time, and I went and got an MBA while I was working, and that worked at getting the MBA along with becoming a business writer got me where I was. So I spent my career as the reporter of executives and CEOs. And so that first book is just kind of their boiling down of the advice that I got from CEOs. In fact, I interviewed Jack Welch on 9/11. His book talk about serendipity. He looked like he was going to have the best-selling CEO book since Lee Iacocca when he came out with his book, and he actually was promoted. The first day he went to promote it was 9/11. So.
Oh, the same thing as Rick.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So he was in studio in New York, and all of a sudden, all the cameras weren't on him anymore.
Oh no, I remember that day. Right, all the cameras were on the towers, and then people leaving and everything.
Yeah, I was 2 miles from the Pentagon, so I worked at USA Today, which is kind of a high rise, and when everybody was pretty calm until it hit the Pentagon, and then all of a sudden all these brave journalists ran out onto the street thinking that was going to be the next building hit. Nobody knew how many planes were coming down.
Yeah, that was bad. Caleb says, I live north of Fort Worth, Dell, so I know the San Angelo Standard Times well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Tornado Alley. Yep.
That's for sure, right?
And
I was asleep.
Go ahead.
I was asleep when the plane hit.
I wasn't. We were taking our granddaughter to Disney World.
On our way to Disney
World. Turn
World.
around and come home. I will be 48 on Halloween. Chanel says, Halloween, that's our wedding anniversary, actually.
I'm still the youngest person in the room.
Oh, my goodness.
You didn't want to give out candy, so you went and got married?
Yeah, we got married instead.
Yeah, nothing else to do, right?
Right, we had nothing else to do that day. Joan and my grandparents were married on Halloween. So, Joan and Rob, I have a friend who needs to talk to you. Okay. You can have them email us, and we would be happy to talk with them. Yeah. And Joe Grongle says, youngster. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about that book, actually. The not the book that he wrote, but the book that you wrote. And I assume that he's one of the people that you interviewed that's in that book, right?
Yeah, he's in. They're very short chapters, and they're basically boiled down from the interviews I did of their advice. What I read through all my stories and everything, and kind of like pulled out what I thought was the best leadership advice that would apply to anybody. And Jack Welch was kind of interesting in himself because he had a policy where he fired the bottom 10% of General Electric every year. He thought if he got rid of the worst workers every year, the bottom 10%, it would make the company strong. But he didn't really, for obvious reasons, he didn't really like to talk about that to the media. And so cool. I kind of made him a deal. Like, I wouldn't write about his book. I told him I wanted to interview him about that, and he declined. He said no, and so, but he wanted me to write about his book, and I says, well, I'll write about your book if you'll talk to me about that. And so after he'd done all his book tour and everything, and this was after 9/11, it was like a couple of months after when he could go back on book tour again. He finally agreed to let me interview him about that.
That was a good deal to get him to do that.
Yeah.
Seriously, because that's really kind of shocking when you hear it.
Yeah, the thing about my beat was everybody wants to talk about things they want to talk about, but they never want to, they're really hard to get to if they don't want to talk about it unless they're like promoting something. So I would always have in my mind like 2 or 3 stories ahead I was working on. And then when I would interview them about their pet project, the thing they wanted to talk about, I would, at the end of the interview, throw in these questions for the story I wanted to write. For example, I wrote a story about CEOs who cheat at golf. And so after I interviewed the CEO about their pet project, I said, do you cheat at golf? And they go, oh, no, I never cheat at golf. And I said, well, do you golf with CEOs who cheat at golf? I said, oh, yeah, all the time. They all cheat at golf.
Except me.
So I got it takes a long time to compile a story like that. And I got one on spanking the same way. I could never call up like a company's PR department and say, I'd like to interview your CEO about whether he was spanked as a child or not. They would just like laugh me out. So I would just do the story that they wanted me to do. And at the end of the interview, I would ask them, I'm doing this other story. Were you ever spanked as a child? And it was amazing how many at that point they were loose and ready to talk. And it was amazing how many were ready to talk about their corporal punishment as children.
Wow.
Well, I'm sure most of them were spanked when they were
a great number of them. A lot of them actually said, well, I was, and I deserved it. I got that answer quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure. Especially if they had the personality to be that kind of a leader. I'm pretty sure they were difficult to raise. So that's this book that we're talking about, Advice from the Top. That's exactly what he's talking about. I did want to ask you, actually, why was it important to you to write At the Bat and also The Cremation of Sam McGee?
I consider myself a pretty good writer, but I'm not very good at creating stories from scratch. And so I knew these poems from when my father had read them to me and recited them to me by heart. And it kind of dawned on me that these ballads, these poetic ballads, were actually stories that you can build off of. I just built off of a poem that could be read in 5 minutes. I created a novel out of them just by building on that. The Cremation of Sam McGee is set in the Klondike and the Gold Rush. Yeah. And so I started researching that. They're basically historical novels, and I started researching the Klondike Gold Rush, and it happened to be the same year as 1898, as the Spanish-American War, and Nellie Bly, this famous female reporter, was on the rise, and she's actually in both books. She's my female lead in both books. If you Google Nellie Bly, she's a very interesting character, and so there was all these things that fell into place in 1898 for historical reasons that I could put into the novel. It actually starts in Cuba in the Spanish-American War and winds up in Alaska, where the reporter that meets him in Cuba winds up cremating. If you know the poem, he's like, Sam McGee is freezing to death.
Yes.
And all he says is, all I want you to do is cremate my last remains.
Yes.
And the guy that's narrating the poem says, anything but that. I don't want to cremate your last remains. But he promised, and a promise made is a debt unpaid. And so he winds up cremating. I mean, both my novels, you kind of know how they end. Although At the Bat, the strikeout that shamed America, I can't really talk about either, because that's kind of what the ending is. Besides, Casey, of course, in the poem, he strikes out as he does in the novel. But it also winds up kind of shaming America.
Yeah. They both sound really interesting. Thinking about writing another book?
I've been I've been in the process of moving lately, so that's all that's been on my mind lately. But I don't know. I've been kind of looking for another poem to kind of base off of. I figure that's kind of my brand now, is maybe another poem. And so if anybody has read a good poem that has a story to it, I'm open. Yeah, I'm open.
Maybe there's one about moving.
Yeah.
What's the ballad of, that the ship that went down in the Great Lakes there?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
Gordon Lightfoot wrote a song about that. Yeah. Edmund Fitzgerald.
Edmund Fitzgerald. And it's a true story.
That's a fabulous song.
Yeah, that might be good too. I always wanted to do historical novels, because as a journalist, I was tired of interviewing people, and I was tired of making things up. Never mind. I was tired of telling the truth, and And so I decided I would do historical novels with everybody's dead by now, and I don't have to interview them. I can make up like what they say, just like I did as like I couldn't do as a journalist.
There you go.
Joe has a question. Not sure if you talked about this and I missed it, but are you just a fan, or did you ever want to try or to play baseball at a professional level?
Oh, geez, I didn't have I would have loved to have played, but I was bad. In fact, my father had a movie. I'm so old that he had a movie camera, which was pretty rare in those days because the film was like really expensive to develop. And he had a movie. And so he would put, when I was at the bat and up to bat in the Little League, he would put the camera on me and he would only turn it on when the pitch was coming because he didn't want to waste film. And so he's got this movie about a 15-minute movie of me swinging and missing, like time after time after time after time. And it's just like waiting for the one time I get a hit. And if I did, he wasn't filming at that time.
Like a Super 8 or something. Yeah.
So Trish Pipkin said, here's a poem, The Snowball by Shel Silverstein.
Okay, thank you.
And Chanel says, you can dive to see the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
There you go. Yeah.
That's cold water there.
Tell you
what,
put on the old wetsuit.
Yeah.
On the shores of Gitchigumi. That's what it's about, right?
Heated wetsuit.
I like that one. But anyway,
those are great suggestions.
Yeah. Look, there's tons of them out there.
We've got a great audience. We always do.
Yeah.
I know.
So Rick and Del, do you guys have any questions for each other? Or comments or observations or criticism? No criticisms. We'll keep it nice.
Rick sounds like he's really prolific. I had a question for him because he sounds like he's really prolific and yet he plans like way in advance. And I was wondering, somebody gave me this advice when I was writing, and it worked out really good, is to know the ending of your story, of your book first, because then if you go off, when you start writing, you start going off on tangents and stuff. And I noticed that, especially like in Netflix movies, I see there'll be a movie that I'll watch where the screenwriter just had a terrific idea. The first 3/4 of the movie is great. And you could just tell at the end that they didn't know how to end it, that they went off on all these tangents. And somebody told me to know how your ending is, which kind of helped with the poem, but also exactly how my books are going to end. And that actually helped me quite a bit. When I went off on tangents, you can think, well, I'm going off on this tangent. Can I wrap it back into the ending? And if you can answer that question, you can keep going on your tangent. So I was just wondering what Rick does with that, especially when he's planning like 5,000 books in advance. I can't imagine.
I usually know how a book is going to end. I have a basic plan of how the book is going to go, and then my characters say
right.
and go off on their merry little way and take me with them.
Yep.
I usually find a way to get back to where I want it to end. But yeah, I have the ending usually. Almost always write the ending first.
Oh.
George says, I let my characters write the end, and that's what happens to us when we write. Your characters really tell the story. They and sometimes you'll get stuck because they don't want to do what you're wanting them to do. So
right.
Someone once said that authors write the incident reports after they watch what their characters did.
That's very good. That's very good.
But to answer Del, I usually start with the ending and go from there.
Yeah, and it's interesting that other people don't, which it doesn't surprise me, because when I was in journalism, everybody wrote newspaper stories entirely differently. There were some people that would write the end of those first. Some people would spend forever on the lead. Some people would just write. I learned to write through, write as bad as you could, get through, and then polish, because I was on deadline then. And if you spent too much time, but everybody else, like, you walk around and people wrote in such different ways that you never even thought about. And that's what it looks like authors do the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. We have Robert White says poems by Banjo Patterson might be good to try to expand into a novel. So
Okay.
another suggestion. And then Trish Pipkin said, my all-time favorite poem is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that.
Robert Frost is good. I've been reading some of his stuff to see if there's like a full story there. I mean, you could do the road less taken, and you could write any book from that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. Yes, you could. Yeah, I think all writers write differently. Some people, have a plan and they have it all planned out, and they go by an outline, and others just sit down and write. It's, I think it probably depends on how your brain works.
I drive my editor crazy because I don't write in order. I never have. I never will. I'll write a chapter here, a chapter from the beginning, a chapter from the middle, a chapter from near the beginning, a chapter from near the end. And eventually it'll all tie together and it'll all make sense. But she'll be like, can you send me a couple chapters? Like, sure, but they're not from the same part of the book.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And now the way I write, I can't even just send her a couple of chapters because I have to. I write on a typewriter now, and I have to actually scan the pages into the computer, do my editing pass, which is what I'm doing now. Then I can send stuff to her.
Wow.
We don't even have a typewriter anymore, and we're old. Paul says he knows the end, but he lets his characters get him there.
That's good. Yeah.
There's a blend of
That is.
both.
Yeah.
They'll do. Yeah. That I could probably try to do. Yeah.
There you go. So what were you saying, Rick? Why do you use the typewriter, though? I need to know.
Okay. I have an ex-girlfriend who knows me very well, who sent me the typewriter for Christmas one year with a note that says, I know how easily distracted you get. Go write.
Oh, that was a sweet
Nice.
thing to do. What a thoughtful gift.
And she's right, because when I
Yeah.
sit at the typewriter, I don't have Facebook, I don't have email, I don't have instant messenger.
Right.
I don't have any of that. I just have the story.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah,
I have the added bonus of getting to know my neighbor.
Yeah.
I know authors that. Go ahead, Rick.
Because she doesn't like the typewriter. She can apparently hear it through the wall, and it drives her crazy. So it's an added benefit.
Sounds great too. The sound of a typewriter. Yeah, I miss that. I know authors that intentionally set up a dead spot. I mean, they don't write on a typewriter; they write on a computer, but they intentionally find a dead spot in their house so that they can't get their email or search the web. They have to get up and move to go do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Robert says no distractions other than the book.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And
That's good advice for just about anything
Yeah.
that you're going to try to concentrate on. So
yeah.
Plus, when I send it the typewriter, I feel like a real author.
there you go. Well, in your picture, you look like you're a real author there.
And Murder, She Wrote, that's the way they opened up every scene.
Do you have
wasn't it,
any?
with her typing
Do you have any
it?
trouble getting any replacement ink?
Amazon.
Amazon's got it. Okay.
Amazon has them for relatively cheap.
Wow. Who knew?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think
Two ribbons for like $12.
I think I just asked Joan the other day. There's probably some of the younger people who don't even know what a typewriter is.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's this thing I have to like hit with my arm? Why doesn't my typing like wrap over here?
Right, exactly.
Jessica.
Oh, trust me, they're dead bodies.
Dead bodies. Yeah.
Oh, there are dead bodies. Okay. Well, that's right. We forgot.
Remember, I'm killing off one of my neighbors' next book.
There you go. One of your
Chanel
neighbors.
says, yeah, but my kid loves to play in whatever room I am in. Robert, come babysit.
Yeah.
It's a long way to go.
Well, Del, do you have any short little words of advice for everybody, for an author that's starting out, let's say?
For an author that's starting out, Just write, it's like I actually wrote novels first. Everybody says to write short stories and that kind of thing first. I actually tried a novel first. In fact, actually the one that published last was when I wrote first, and I almost got it traditionally published. So, just, and that's the kind of the cool thing now is that, you can go the traditional route. Everybody has kind of dreams of that. And then when that falls through, you can just indie publish, and you'll learn a lot doing that. I learn a lot more than the authors that traditionally publish. That's for sure. Indie authors know a lot more.
There you go.
That's true.
There you go. Rick, do you have any words of advice to new authors?
3 pieces of advice.
Perfect.
1, read a lot.
Okay.
2, write a lot. 3, let the story go where it's going to go. And I'll explain what I mean by that. With my first book, the one that came out on 9/11/2001 that didn't sell very well, I've since re-released that one, by the way. When I was writing it, I was determined to kill off a character. I absolutely wanted to kill this character off. I was determined to kill her off. She was going to die. I wanted this to happen more than anything. And I would kill her off, and then I couldn't finish the story. And for years, I was like, I got to this point, I would kill her off, and that was it. And then I'd start over, and then I'd get to that point, I'd kill her off, and that was it. And then one time I'm like, okay, what happens if instead of killing her off, I put her in a coma, she gets out of it eventually. 6 months later, I had a finished book.
There you go.
She didn't want to die.
She wasn't ready.
So,
She wasn't going to die.
the moral of the story is,
Yeah.
the story wants to go a certain way. And
Yeah.
if you fight it, the story's not going to happen.
That's
There
right.
you
So,
go.
That's right.
let the story go where it will.
Perfect.
That's right.
Very, very good advice. Yeah.
George says, I've still got my old IBM Selectric. It's 10 pounds typewriter and 15 pounds rust, but I've still got it.
There you go.
Gee, George, that's
Here.
great. We got rid of all of ours. Now I feel bad.
The
Whoa.
one I use is a Royal Safari 3. It's beautiful. It works great. I don't know where she got it.
Oh,
I don't know how she got it.
Oh, look
Here's
at
my
this.
grandfather's typewriter.
Wow.
That's a beauty.
That's beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
That's wonderful.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I had to get up to get it.
Great advice, Rick. Totally agree, Joe says. And Trish Pipkin says, why is the save button still a floppy disk? Kids today don't know what those are.
That's a good question. Nobody's
that's
ever
true.
changed
They
that little
don't.
picture on there, have they?
Mm-mm. The little floppy disk. They just know that's the save button. They don't know why it's the save button, though.
At least it's not punch cards. The only computer class I ever took, I was punching cards in high school. So very, very, very valuable class. Yeah.
Yeah, Trish says that's so cool. It is. That's a really cool typewriter.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now I have Murder, She Wrote theme song going through my head. Ah, you got an earworm, Robert. Oh, Chaser God said me too. You know that was a good theme song then, right? And we've all watched the show, so it was a good show. I liked it.
Well, I think it's about that time.
Yep, I think it is too.
Rick and Del, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we had a great
Thank
night.
you, Rob and Joan.
Everybody in
Thanks
the
for having
audience.
us.
And thanks for your
Check
thanks
these
for your
guys out.
audience. They're great.
Yeah.
And they really
yeah.
are a great audience.
They're the best.
We love them.
The
They're
best
awesome.
everywhere, globally. Globally.
Globally.
The best
yeah.
audience all around the world.
Paul says, another awesome show. Thanks, Joan, Rob, Rick, and Del.
You're welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Sue Pearson says, thank you. Boy, Sue
Hey, Sue.
Pearson, you've been quiet all night.
I'm going to move you guys over to the side here while we end up a little bit here. Do you have anything that you want to talk about before we leave?
Well, this.
Oh, okay.
That was the biopsy that I had on Monday, and you'll be seeing me in Band-Aids for this show and the next show. And then, depending on whether it's cancer or not, I may be in much bigger Band-Aids for a while. Joe Congo says, great show. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
We enjoyed it.
Future author on Meet the Author, actually. And so is James Ricard.
So is James Ricard,
Yep.
future author on the show.
So, believe it or not, the next show is episode 20.
Wow.
20 episodes. That's insane. Doesn't seem like 20, but it is. It'll be Catherine Kerrigan and Lorian Brooks are going to be the guests. There won't be a show on the 11th of August, but on the 18th and 25th coming up, the 18th, we've got Kelly Mitchell, a nonfiction author, Diane Askell, fantasy author, writes about dragons and stuff.
Yes, she does, Diane.
And episode 22 on the 25th will be John W. Wood, who's multi-genre, and Richard Cesar, who writes crime, action, and fantasy. So we've got an action-packed month in August. And we mentioned Joe Congo coming up. He's coming up September 1st, right around the corner. And James Ricard will be in October. October 13th, actually.
So Sue Pearson says 20 shows, awesome. Trish Pipkin says, yay, dragons. Yeah, you're going to like her, Trish. The art is beautiful, too. And Robert always says, oh, dragons. Yes, it's a whole big dragon thing. Paul Hollis says, please take care of yourself, Joan. Thank you, Paul. I will.
Paul Hollis, actually, who was our second show, our second episode, is coming back at the end of October for a vintage rewind there, and is going to be our guest again. We really enjoyed that show.
You heard that show? It was a great show.
Right. So
they've all been great shows.
I guess until next time.
That's all, folks.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.